We are rolling.
Good morning. Welcome back to the conversation. This is Pointing Out the Obvious. This is our news and politics webcast, our daily take on what's buzzing today. I'm your host, Patrick Russell, and over there is my very opinionated producer, Veronica. Together, we're here to quip and quiver through today's headlines, searching for the real, no matter how deep in the swamp we need to go. Happy Taco Tuesday to you, Veronica. First, let me just say what a wonderful hairstyle change this is. Thank you for looking so beautiful today.
Thank you.
You bet. Going forward, guys, on this show, we like to call hypocrisy out wherever we see it, and no more of an example of hypocrisy could be found recently than in a California judgment stating essentially that 4 big manufacturers of the pharmaceutical drug Oxycontin are not liable and not responsible for any part of the opioid epidemic that is currently crushing the medical community right now in all states, but specifically in California. As we know, each state is specifically going after the drug manufacturers to go along with Purdue Pharma, who has been the subject of some really good shows. This is one thing I think we wanted to bring to bear on this show, is how important art is to society beyond just a matter of a diversion. There's learning that can be done through art. No more said than these 2 shows, American Rust and then DopeSick, both essentially centering on the opioid crisis of the United States and giving you the backstories, making you truly understand what was going on. Right? The lies, the legal loophole hiding underneath the FDA label that allowed people to believe, at least for their first 1, 2, 3, how many does it take before you get addicted? Right? Because you did get addicted. Not only did you get addicted by this product, but your brain chemistry got rewritten. It was so severe. And so beyond just Purdue Pharma, who was the actual inventor of Oxycontin, but all the generic makers as well, to include Johnson & Johnson, these big 4 pharmaceutical companies are being let off the hook, even though they're basically in front of our very eyes pleading willful ignorance, right? I mean, any doctor in the building that could have done any clinical trial whatsoever on the makeup and the effects of Oxycontin could clearly see that there was an addictive effect beyond what any safety label may have pretended to give cover for. It was beyond egregious. And we see it in those shows. Why? Because what ended up happening is that you had a pill that as soon as you licked it, got it wet, and rubbed off that protective coating, that time-release coating, you essentially had in crushed up form one of the strongest, hardest street drugs next to heroin and crack cocaine that there was for the last 10 years. Ouch. And these big pharmaceutical companies knew it, and they were spreading it like wildfire because now they could get the legal dope dealers, aka your GP, to write a prescription for it for pretty much any ailment that lasted more than 20 minutes. No problem. I got a script for Oxycontin. And as people got used to it, adapted to it, what ended up happening? The new and approved double the dose product soon came to the market, giving absolutely no concern or regard to what was actually happening around them as far as this epidemic that was pouring into police reports, police blotters, break-ins to the CVS, break-ins to Walgreens. Pharmacists coming in was saying, hey, I'm seeing some real wigged out patients coming here that are exhibiting all the classic signs and symptoms of being addictive and addicted. Is this drug safe? And for over the course of a decade saying, yes, it was safe. Please keep giving them more. And for anybody to understand that that was the true fabric of the story, for this judge, any judge, but this judge in California, to believe that these 4 pharmaceutical companies somehow, through illegal haranguing of facts and circumstances, was to be let off. From a younger generation's perspective, knowing what we know and seeing what we've seen, how do you feel about any judge feeling that any of these pharmaceuticals that made $1 off of a product that has been responsible for the death of 500,000 Americans and climbing, and let's face it, the lives of millions more unknown, ruined? How do you feel about any manufacturer of this drug being let off the hook. Your thoughts?
I'm not surprised. And I'm not surprised just because we talk about this all the time. It's that the 1% always kind of rules what happens. And based on what I'm reading, I mean, the communities were basically asking for tens of billions of dollars. So you have one side, the other side, and then now who's winning, right? So you just mentioned 500,000 people have died, right? So
far.
I mean, their excuse is just it's not us. And then how can we win the case where it's basically clear, crystal clear, where they knew and they still did it, and now everyone is like, well, let me wash my hands, move on, and then whoever die. So I mean, it is sad, because then it makes me think going to the doctor and probably needing a prescription. I mean, I don't know what I'm taking. That's why I'm going to the doctor. That's what I'm going to someone that knows, so they can prescribe me in case I need anything.
And that's what this really comes down to, the basic fabric of, can we trust our medical establishment to do what's right for us as opposed to what's right for their pocketbooks? And this is a prime example of how the system, based on the commissions and the kickbacks and allowing the pharmaceutical companies to drive the conversation on price, supply and demand in all aspects, has created the perfect storm for an epidemic that now billions of dollars of taxpayer money is going to have to go to the homeless that, of course, have had to deal with this, losing your job, losing your family, finding yourself onto the streets. Of course, the medical cost of dealing with people trying to deal with withdrawal, hopefully, and, getting past this addictive stage in their life if they can. And then, of course, the overall cost of those that'll never recover, those that will always be on social dependence for the rest of their lives, all because they trusted their doctor that OxyContin was okay for their headaches.
Question: if we cannot trust our doctors, or what, our doctors, I mean, who can we trust here then? Because you're going to the doctor, you're paying insurance, you're doing all these things that we're supposed to do, and at the end you came out with like, oh, we were testing something and we didn't know, and now you're addicted and then probably are gonna die.
Final note. The fight is still not over. Of course, each individual state is suing the makers of OxyContin and the generic pills individually. So there's plenty of settlements that are going to be paid out, lots of billions of dollars that are going to be penalized against these main players, the manufacturers of the drug. So the fight's not over, and I'm not to say that they're going to get away with it scot clean. The message of this is to appreciate art in all of its forms, not just as a diversion, but as a way of opening your eyes to what's really happening around you in your life so that you can make informed decisions moving forward, to include supporting senators that refuse to look at the pharmaceutical company as an ends and a means in and of themselves, as opposed to an agent of the public good. Guys, there's no right answer, there's no wrong answer, but there is your opinion. Please don't just subscribe to the show, even though we will be doing this back and forth on a daily basis, but lend your voice to the show. It'll make it a whole lot more fun. Guys, it doesn't matter if you lean to the right. It doesn't matter if you lean to the left. As long as you're treating the person in front of you kindly, you just made the world a better place. Happy Taco Tuesday.